If you ever left a meeting thinking, did anyone even notice I was there? This one's for you. Now, I want to say this clearly. Feeling invisible at work is not just about not getting credit. It's about the stories we start telling ourselves when we feel overlooked. That maybe we're not cut out for leadership, we're not built for influence, and that we're simply not good enough. What I want to share with you today is for the quietly ambitious, for those who want to feel seen, but not in a loud, performative way. We're talking about how to shift from quiet resentment to quiet power, and I'll share with you 3 subtle, low-key ways to becoming more visible without the cringe. Now, you weren't born feeling invisible, but many of us, especially those with a quiet demeanor and introspective nature, were taught to feel this way. Maybe you were told that you needed to speak up more in class, not because you didn't have anything to say, but because you didn't speak up loud or fast enough. Maybe you were overlooked for promotions or leadership opportunities because you didn't dominate, interrupt, and push for it. And so you internalized this idea that if I'm not loud enough, I don't matter. And so we started trying to win by being competent, by coming in prepared, and by hoping that our work will speak for itself. But it turns out it doesn't. And so you end up in this weird space. You're good at what you do, but undercredited. You're present, but unnoticed. You're not failing, but you're not seen either. And what I want to tell you is, you're not broken. You're not behind. You were just taught to play a game that was never built for your strength. But that doesn't mean you can't still win. And I am all the more grateful that you found this space, because this is going to change the way you show up at work and are being perceived. Now, if this resonates with you, please share it with somebody who could use it too. And then like and subscribe for more low-key ways to stand out at work without shouting. Now, where I want to start is I want to talk to you about this sentiment of quiet resentment and how it builds up over time. It's pretty easy, actually. If you're anything like me, you put in the work. You don't shy away from going above and beyond, doing all the extra miles. But sooner or later, you realize that however much energy and effort you put in, it's never really hitting the mark. You're never seen the same way. Some of the louder, more extroverted, more outgoing people at work get credit for. You're not being recognized in the same way. Your work doesn't stand out just by itself. It doesn't speak for itself. We already covered that. And then over time, what happens is you build this quiet resentment. You feel drained. You feel exhausted. You feel like your work should stand out quietly, but it just doesn't. And honestly, it should, but it is just not the way it works in the workplace. And so I totally understand anyone who feels that quiet resentment and who lingers with it, who feels stuck with it. But the problem is, it's just not a great energy to be in. It's passive. You feel like you're stuck. You feel like there is nothing that you can really do to stand out, to be more visible. And so you just kind of linger in that feeling of feeling sorry for yourself and staying in the invisible. Now, what I want to offer you is this shift from quiet resentment to quietly powerful. And what that means is you pick something that you want to be known for. This could be a topic, it could be an expertise, it could be a project at work that feels like it resonates with you, it feels powerful to you. And you become known for that thing. And you're becoming very intentional with how you speak about this, how you present yourself, who you talk about this topic to. And over time, you position yourself as the go-to person for this topic, for this area, for this function. And so that builds this quiet power. It builds this brand, this reputation around that thing that you want to be known for. And this is what is going to start speaking for itself. This is what is going to do the heavy lifting for you when it comes to visibility and being seen at work, because you're not just waiting for attention. You're not just waiting for recognition and quietly doing your thing. You're intentionally being more powerful. And why this works is you're not just throwing spaghettis at the wall anymore. You're picking one lane that you want to be in, one thing that you want to stand out for. I'm very well aware that there are so many different things that you do in the workplace, but pick this one thing that you're starting to become intentional with. And only even if you just use this to try this out and to see if it works, pick this one thing and start to slowly, intentionally, subtly talk a little bit more about it. Position this area in forums, present it to small groups or stakeholders who this is relevant to. Over time, you will notice that this is becoming what you're known for. This becomes your brand, your reputation, and it does the heavy lifting for you. The more you lean into that proactive energy of feeling quietly powerful, the less you're going to be invisible, and the more you're going to fight that feeling of being invisible. Now, in order for you to become quietly powerful, I want to offer 3 simple visibility shifts that you can start using this week. They are not over performative, they're not faking it, they're just some subtle changes and shifts that you can start to play with and use in your day-to-day. The first one is all about body language and the way you show up in the workplace. And there are some really small, subtle steps that you can take that make a big difference. Now, you want to think about, how can I take up 10% more space in the meetings I have, in the interactions I have, in some of the communications I put out. Now, when you think about meetings, maybe there are some meetings that you would normally join with your camera off and on mute, but maybe you just try it out and join with your camera on just one time and see what happens. Because when you have your camera on, people actually see that you're present, you're listening, you're not doing anything else, you're not working in the background, but just being on camera, being visible, maybe you're taking notes, maybe you're interacting in the chat, it shows that you're present, it shows that you're there, and it gives you a lot more of that subtle visibility without you having to speak up, without you having to jump in or interrupt or take up space. It is just a subtle sign that you're there, that you're listening, and that you're present. Now, another thing that you might want to do is weave in some updates about, what you're currently working on. It's about interacting in a way that feels natural for you. And this might not be coming off mute and speaking up all the time, but it could be interacting in the chat or reaching out to somebody who is on the call too, to give them a small update and say, hey, this is what I'm currently working on. This might be helpful for you. This might resonate. Or offering to come with more material, to come prepared, give a little bit of a status update, a 1 sentence about what you're currently working on and how it is relevant to what is currently being discussed in a meeting or what has come up in a chat, or whatever this looks like. Now, these are small shifts and you don't need to do them all the time. I'm not saying you need to join every single meeting with your camera on, although it would make a huge difference. But try and play with it. Try and see how your body language, you're being visible, you're being present, you're having an open posture, maybe even smiling and doing eye contact while you're on the call, interacting with somebody on a side chat or within the main meeting chat. It makes such a difference and it changes the way you are being perceived. It's subtle changes, but they do have an impact. The second thing I want you to try is use a signature phrase. You want to pick a phrase that anchors your energy and helps people remember how you show up. Now, here's one I love. This might be an unpopular opinion, but, or I know this might sound subtle, but. Now, what this does is it names the nuance you bring. It shows how being thoughtful is a strength. And the more often you repeat this, the more it becomes something people associate with you. The third thing I want to offer you is a question prompt. Ask yourself, what is one thing that I want people to know about me? And then you write it out in the first person. It could sound something like, I am strategic. I think 5 steps ahead. I don't speak to fill space. I speak to shift the conversation. And then this becomes your personal North Star. And over time, it bleeds into your energy, your presence, your voice. And people will start noticing it too. Not because you changed who you are, but because you showed it on purpose. Let me leave you with this. Visibility is not about being the loudest. It is not about turning up the volume. It's about being remembered for the right things. And that is something introverts are naturally good at. Our power is not in making noise. It's in making things matter. So if this landed with you, try one of these shifts this week, one small change, and then DM me or drop me a comment. Tell me what felt different. I want to hear it. Thank you for tuning in and see you next time.